Hello, hello.
Hey mate, Happy New Year.
You too, man. How was it?
Yeah, very good. Well, I was
Good,
just
good.
actually saying to Zoe this morning that it's crazy that we've only been out of prison for 4 full days, but it feels like we have done so. It doesn't feel like 4 days, it feels like 2 weeks already, which is just
Right.
wild. So yeah, New Year's was very low key, very chill. It was just more obviously getting out, seeing people and that sort of stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, it's just been a crazy 4 days. I can't believe
What
it's
have you been
only
up
been
to?
4 days. Thursday. It's
Running.
a blur. Yeah, I've done a couple of runs. Went for a bike ride, which I haven't. I've got a bike that Zoe's old man has given me or lent me, and I think I've ridden it once, maybe twice before in in over a year because I haven't used it at all in the last year because I wasn't here. Yeah, went out and got on that, which was really good.
A road bike.
Road bike, yeah, road bike.
Yeah, sweet.
Um, Yeah, man. So just don't really know. I caught up with some mates, played golf yesterday, which was good. Um, saw a lot of family catch ups, which was just really, really nice. We normally do a Christmas Eve dinner, so we had that on the 30th in the evening. Um, Yesterday just spent golf, then watching cricket with some mates, and then out to dinner with the folks. Today ran, beach, breakfast, just fixed some retic out the front.
All
Catch,
today.
Catching up, yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Catching up with you,
You're flying.
then catching up with my folks again, then out for taking some of the leaders of the clubs out for a few quiet ones. So we'll see how quiet they stay. Yeah, so just kind of really, really jamming it all in the few days.
Yeah, nice.
How
You're there
how are you,
for
man?
another few weeks, right?
Yeah, I'm here for at least another three, I think. So
Yeah, sweet.
be good. How's your New Year's?
Good. Um, Had a few mates around and they invited a couple of mates and ended up being a good little group. And it was a pretty late one, 3 a.m. I reckon I
Oh,
knocked off,
yeah,
which for me is like usually don't see 10 p.m.
yeah,
So
okay,
that's a pretty late one for me. And now it's just the process of getting back into a good sleeping routine.
yeah,
Because going to bed at 3 now, it's like I'm not tired really before 11:30.
hmm,
And in a couple of days' time, I'm back up at 4 a.m. So I have to really reel it back in the next couple of days and try and get into a bit more of a routine, a normal habit,
yeah, for
sleeping habit.
sure. What have
It's
you been
going to
doing
hurt.
over the past few days? Like it's in the new year, have you been
Lots of planning
recovering,
stuff. Yeah,
planning?
recovering. That was the number one goal. The
Yeah,
day, the 1st of Jan was pretty rough. And I basically just used my Whoop to track all this stuff. Like
yeah, yeah,
I felt okay. I was up at 8. So off of like maybe like 4.5, 5 hours sleep, something like that. I felt okay. And then I went back to sleep. And then I reckon the hangover hit me at like 2 p.m.
yeah. Wow.
And yeah, I was a bit of a write off for the rest of the day after that. And then what's the date today? The 3rd. So yesterday was just like a first birthday at the beach, which is so nice.
Yeah,
Really nice weather. Down Christie's. And besides that, lots of planning stuff. I'm still pretty fired up for the rest of the year, doing the planning for
sick.
this periodization stuff and for the footy guys and their strength and conditioning programs. And yeah, just trying to really create a lot of momentum early in the year here. Um, I'm kind of already getting some imposter syndrome in a
Yeah.
way.
How do you mean?
Uh,
Like just
in that,
internally?
yeah, like nothing that I'm going to let me, it's not going to slow me down, but it is just a feeling I kind of have to overcome. I think of like, this is just particularly with the YouTube,
Hmm.
with this
Explain
new
explain
idea
imposter
of,
syndrome before we get too far.
so for me, and I think generally most people kind of will experience the same kind of thing where you maybe feel like you're not worthy of being in this position, or the content that you feel like you would put out wouldn't be any good,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
That's kind of the feelings that I get. But then I realized, like having been in the fitness industry for a long time, that most people don't know a lot of stuff. So really, anything that you put out is going to be beneficial to someone.
Yeah.
Um, and it helps in that my goals for the channel and for this is more so just in an intrinsic way for me. I'm
Hmm.
doing it to like scratch the creative itch and using it as something that I'm going to stay consistent to, rather than um, rather than trying to reach a particular goal of X amount of listeners or subscribers or viewers or anything of the sort. So like I'm putting something out there for myself. So I think that helps me a little bit kind of overcome that. Because I've got those kinds of goals in place and not like desperate to have 1 million subscribers or 100,000 monthly listeners on here or like any of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to grow it like pretty, I guess, organically. Like I'll still push it, but the outcome is completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever experienced anything?
Yeah, like every day. Just this idea, exactly. You are what you surround yourself by. I think we've discussed this before, where it's like, you know, the knowledge that we're around seems, like you just said, it's like, oh, surely everyone knows all this, and so why am I special to share it? Blah blah blah. It's like, but not everyone does know it, and even if they do, they probably haven't heard it in a way that you want to elicit or enunciate. And even if that is something that you're concerned about, you, me, whoever other person, like you just say, your focus and the outcome of this that you're trying to achieve is consistency of achieving a target for yourself. So if you can always refer back to that, then, you know, that's an easy motivation. As an example, like this platform here, it's, you know, there's nothing's new. You know, we refer to a lot of other things and a lot of other people, podcasts, books, etc. You know, we're just well, for want of a better term, like a vessel of information. Like, you know, we've found out some stuff and we're talking about it, basically. So
right.
I think imposter syndrome is everywhere. Yeah, and I've definitely gone through it in the fitness industry, in a working space, in a leadership space, management, all that sort of stuff. And I kind of feel if you don't feel it, you might not even be in the right circles. Like if you're feeling like what you've got potentially is like you're feeling like an imposter. If you're not feeling that way, you might not be surrounding yourself with people who are bringing you up. If you're always at the top of the game, then it's a case of, well, your average is being brought down by the people around you. So therefore you are being put on a pedestal, and it shouldn't be that. It should just be like, hey, I've got some information. Yeah, other people have it, but I'm just sharing it because I can. Or this is my journey because I want to document it for X reason. So if you can always refer back to that, I think you're pretty safe.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I try and do is extract a lot out of any situation, whether it be like a job that I'm in or the people that I'm around, or like I'm asking questions and I'm trying to figure out as much as I can about this thing so I can be brought up to the average of the 5 people. Yeah. You know, what's that quote? That you're the average of the 5 people we spend most time with.
Yeah.
So if you're surrounding, as you say, just to kind of reiterate what you're saying, if you're surrounding yourself with people that, you know, aren't really providing you with a lot of maybe new information or even different ways of thinking, I think any idea in a vacuum, as in if you are surrounded by people that have the same kind of ideologies, then really any idea is a pretty dangerous one, because then you're just like, you're getting this confirmation bias that this is the way you should think. And there's no pushback. Like there's no friction in the ideas that are coming up.
Yeah. Or even going down that YouTube space. Like if you were to be, say this is coming around that YouTube for yourself, imagine you're around the top 5, the other 4 creators that are like, that you aspire to be. Imagine that's your circle. You'd feel imposter syndrome even more. It's like, well, what do I have compared to them? But that's because that's your circle. Whose circle are you in that is just beneath that, or whatever that is? And people can feel information or gain knowledge from you in that regard. So if you're the best of the other 4 creators, well then, yeah, like you say, confirmation bias. It's just like, yeah, I'm doing a great job. But maybe go find those other 4 that are miles ahead of you and go, cool, bring me up, learn, educate. But you'll still feel imposter syndrome in that world as well.
And I feel like this is relevant to this as well, the podcast, in that we're probably like a little late to the party in a way. Like if there is like a perfect time to do something, what do they say? Podcast is like 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something.
Oh, no idea.
And YouTube is probably, well, however long ago, you know, like we're kind of late to the party, but I don't think that matters.
I would actually not completely disagree. I would, argue that point purely based on the fact that like you say, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So potentially, if anyone had created a podcast 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever the time frame you said, you can't guarantee it would have been successful. It's only those that have stuck at it and grinded and made those 1,000 podcasts or 250 like Tim Ferriss, whatever he's done, that have solidified that. But it's the ones that give up after a certain time period because they don't reap the benefits because they're doing it for those external gratification metrics like 10,000, whatever, a million subscribers, blah, blah, blah. It's a case of, no, you just produce information. And at some point, if that's what, like for me, it's just, I like having a discussion with you every day when we're training. Yeah. And we were just like, let's chuck a microphone in front of us and see what happens. And I'm still going to have those conversations with you every day or every other week or whatever this is whilst I travel. So why would that stop in that regard? It would just be a case of, well, we've just decided that it's too hard. And as we can tell, we literally just log onto a computer and start chatting. It's really not that hard. So yeah, I can't say I agree with the best time to create a YouTube channel was 15 years ago and the best, it would have been potentially more stable if you had have done all X, Y, and Z things to get to this point. But if you didn't, it still wouldn't have been the best time.
That's true. And I think one of the bigger things for me is if you're going to start something, and I've asked a few people about this that have, created content before, it's more about consistency than perfection.
Yeah.
So as long as you're consistent and the message is pretty consistent, then it doesn't matter if what you're putting out there is perfect information or super polished, like really good infographics or, the ad copy is like really, really well structured and written. As long as you're consistent and the information you're putting out there is legitimate, then that's all that matters, really.
Yeah.
Those other goals those other milestones will be ticked off eventually. I was talking to a good mate of mine, Luke, yesterday about it. And he said, you'd be surprised with what consistency can get you in the YouTube space, in that he's done some stuff. And I'm not sure exactly how many subscribers he's got, but I think it's in maybe like the 5 or 6 digits.
Right.
And he said it was just all about consistency and trial and error. That was his biggest thing. He's like, dude, just put stuff out there and fail the first few times, or not be super, super stoked with how it looks or comes across or whatever. But that's the point, right? It's like, and that really resonated with me because that is the point for me. The point is to learn this new skill of sticking to something, not just like having it as a pipe dream and then letting it kind of fall away.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like perfect. I'm like, okay, good. That gives me this kind of platform to use and start this thing and just have a go at it, because that's all I'm doing it for. Like, I'm in the position to be able to put information out there, but also I've got the time to put into this kind of thing, and who knows what could come from it. So that's really inspiring, which is why I'm still just like really fired up for this year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big one.
You mentioned just before we got onto this that you've got a couple of episodes or an episode ready to go.
Today. Sorry. Yeah. Today. So yesterday we had some technical difficulties with an SD card, as technology always seems to have some kind of issue.
Yeah.
So today's the day. Yeah. So episode 1 is going to be just a bit of an intro, what my training background is and what my goals are and what I'm looking to get out for the next 12 months. And really just what I've said to you just then, just like preface that this is something for me to just put information out there. And hopefully people can learn some stuff about periodization and how to program for themselves and what strength development looks like and running programming and that kind of thing. And hopefully some people can follow the journey.
Yeah, unreal. You mentioned, I think in the last podcast, that one of the biggest things to keep you consistent with producing content, etc., was being accountable to something. So I kind of wanted to lend out thoughts into that theme of accountability and why the human race relies on either intrinsic or extrinsic motivation. And then your sort of accountability around releasing YouTubes for, do you have an end goal? Do you have a consistent timeline? You've wishy-wash between 7 to 10 days, or like, is there a case of I want to do X by X, or what's going to keep you accountable to that?
I think over the next 12 months, 40 episodes would be the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So if that works out to be one every like 9 days or something like that.
Yeah.
On average, I think that's the goal. And it could be more than that. Like I could do 150 in the next 363 days.
Yeah.
Or 362 days that we've got left of the year. So
yeah.
As a minimum, I would say one every 10 days.
Yeah, cool.
Of varying length. First couple are going to be, around that kind of 10-minute mark. Some might be longer. Some might be shorter. Some will just be like little updates about how the week has gone. And some will be like 45-minute rants about my program and how it has worked or hasn't worked, or nuances or things that I had to change because of this reason, or an injury, or my general thoughts or whatever. So I would say 1 every 10 days, plus or minus, like probably more frequent than that, I would say.
Yeah, cool. And you mentioned last time that you wanted to do, as I re-listened to it afterwards, you'd mentioned that you want to do all these fitness targets within a certain time frame. You actually mentioned between Christmas and New Year you were going to do it, which I think is a bit ambitious, but hey, see what happens. But then you fleshed it out to, oh, maybe I'll do one in June and then I'll do the other one in December. Had you kind of solidified when you're going to be hitting your goals? Or like, is it going to be within a certain specific time frame, or you just want to have accomplished it this year?
I think as long as I can build to a point where I can achieve one of these things, like let's say it's the 50K run, which is probably going to be one of the last things I do. But let's say hypothetically in July, I'm feeling really good and I go and run it with my mate, Sam, who's doing his 100K run, which I'm going to tag on the end and finish up in Adelaide Oval with him, which I'm really keen for. But if I'm feeling good, then I'll tick it off. And then the goal from there is to just try and maintain that level of fitness whilst I'm bringing up my other stuff. So whether that's the 50K run, and then I'm working on strength development across like the 4 main lifts and some Olympic lifting stuff, or if it's the other way around, build myself up in that strength and then try and build while I maintain strength, build to this 50K run goal over that period. I haven't locked in any time frame to complete them as yet, but I feel like as long as I'm building myself up to that level of fitness and strength and maintaining that, it's basically the same thing as being able to do it at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, or within like a really short time frame. You said it'd probably be more, what word did you use? Like impressive or inspiring if you could do it all within a short time frame.
Well, yeah, I think that would be more challenging for sure, obviously, because you've got to be having the right training to be able to run 50Ks, as well as doing, I think it was a sub 20-minute 5K. So your short distance pacing needs to be on point in the same 2 weeks that you're going to go and run 50Ks, in the same 2 weeks that you're going to, you know, double body back squat, blah, 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 blah. So I think that is possibly, in my opinion, would be a little bit more rounded in terms of that phrase that you threw out of holistic athleticism. Not to say that it's not impressive to do a 50K run regardless of where you're at and all the other stuff. But yeah, that was I think once we got off the call, that was kind of maybe my thought there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
I know you love a challenge.
The thing I have to do for myself is I'm extremely ambitious. So I put these things out there, and then it's like an afterthought. I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe actually that was a stupid thing to say. Or
I don't think it's unachievable. I think if you can train that way, I think that's like in a 2-week time period, go, cool, I've got 10 challenges, I've got 14 days and I need to tick them off. And you could approach it in a case of like, yeah, day 1 is deadlifts. Sweet. That's all you need to do. Day 2 is bench. Day 3 is back squat. Then you do your ollies on the Thursday, and you've still got 10 days to do 5 things or whatever it was. So then you can break it up that way. Do your bike indoors on the erg on the Sunday. The very last thing, the following Sunday, is the run. Nutrition would need to be on point, but I think it's achievable. It'd be pretty cool for you to go, cool, yeah, 4 days ago I went and ran a 20-minute 5K, and in 4 days I'm going to run 50Ks unbroken.
Okay, I'll do it.
Because like all I'm saying is like you could go out tomorrow and go run your 20-minute 5K. Not like if you were trained, if you had that ability naturally, and then go in 8 months, go, yeah, I ran a 50K race and a 5K, 20-minute 5K in the same year. I think more impressive in the 2 weeks. I don't know if anyone else has got their thoughts. Maybe just slide into our DMs and let us know. Should Luke do them all in 2 weeks or not?
The answer is obvious. They should all be done on the same day.
Same day.
No,
to be 24
I
hours.
like that. I like that. The last 2 weeks of December, I think, is when I'll have a real crack at all these things and really finalize the list over the next little bit.
Yeah.
But right now we've got to extrapolate. One times bodyweight snatch, 1 times bodyweight strict press, 1.25 times bodyweight clean and jerk, 1.5 times bodyweight bench press, 2 times bodyweight back squat, 2.5 times bodyweight deadlift, 50K run, 3K swim, and sub 20-minute 5K run.
In 2 weeks. That's pretty good.
I think that's the whole list.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not too far away from all of those things. The thing that is most daunting for me is the 50K run. More so, the timing of that will obviously have to come last, because I'm
doing that in
sensing
2 week period, 100% recovery will be massive.
Yeah, I could definitely not start with that, because my central nervous system would just be fried after that. Like, I remember what it was like after just running 30, and 50 is just another ball game. So
yeah, 100%.
And considering the route that I've plotted as well, like the first 10Ks is like a 12% gradient. It's gonna be pretty rough. Okay. It's basically just like straight up Montacute Road. Yeah. And then I just like follow the hill line across to Aldgate, and then I turn around and run back. So the last 10Ks is also really downhill. So I'll just be cruising down, but it's going to be a pretty tough course. But definitely achievable. So yeah, that'll come last. All the strength stuff, as you said, will come early on in that 2-week period. And yeah, recovery and nutrition. I'm just gonna have to be eating like 5,000 calories a day and drinking lots of water, and
that'll be a good time. Around Christmas, that'll be easy.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not too far away from all of those things. As I was just saying, like that's really just increasing everything by about 10 or 15%.
Yeah, hence why the impressive thing would be to do it within a specific 2-week period for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're ready, do it sooner.
Why not? And that's the whole point of calling them milestones, is that if I'm feeling good and I can tick them off sooner, then it's like, all right, well, I hit that 100 kilo clean and jerk. Let's aim for 105 by the end of the year, or 107.5 by the end of the year. Yeah. So yeah, if I'm going to tick them off sooner, then by all means, like I always just want to aim for the next thing. So why would I do something that I can already do, or already could have done 6 months ago? Yeah. The point is, like, a 10% increase in this first year might equate to like a 5% increase the year after, and then a 3% increase the year after that. But as long as you're continually moving upwards in strength development, it's going to slow right down. Because I haven't done a lot of strength stuff in the last little bit, a 10 or 15% increase isn't really out of the question. But once you get closer and closer to your absolute potential, that's going to slow right down to like kilos every year, like 1 or 2 kilos every year, unless you're Lash Ketov, who just like snatched and beat his own snatch world record by 10 kilos or something at 235 kilograms or whatever it was. Pretty wild. And I'm looking to just lift that just off the ground 25 kilos lighter or 35 kilos lighter. So
he's throwing it over your head.
It's pretty crazy how what humans can do, man. It's pretty wild.
Big time. Have you ever started running? Have you started your training for this? I know we're 3 days into the year.
Yep. Yeah, I started just after Christmas, I think, or maybe just before Christmas, where I was just going for some runs, basically. It was time off away from the gym. We'd just gone through a pretty heavy strength block and some testing stuff, and muscularly I was pretty retired. I was ready to just like take a week off or so, and I did that. So I was just getting out on the track and just getting some Ks in the legs to start. Nothing massive, like everything under 10 Ks, and pushing a decent pace, I guess. I checked my Strava. I hadn't ran for 6 months, or at least hadn't logged a run for 6 months. All of the running stuff would have been 400 meters or less in the gym group fitness environment. So in terms of long distance running, nothing for 6 months. But I felt okay. Like generally, I was pretty tired after the run, but that'll happen. Like it was a pretty tough course. The first half was like downhill, but that means the second half is always uphill. So it was a bit of a slog to get back home. But I was playing around with some cadence stuff and found out what I feel like is a good cadence in terms of like my strike rate and my feet, and smaller strides, faster cadence felt so much nicer for me. I could just like pedal off the earth rather than, I think, because I hadn't ran for 6 months, I kind of lost that innate ability to just like run efficiently. And I felt like I was just like plodding around, and I just felt super heavy. So for the first few, it's just going to be trial and error and just like figuring out, and that'll vary depending on if it's a 5K or a 50K, I guess, or maybe it won't. I'm not really sure if that will change a lot. But yeah, the first few are just trial and error, and I feel okay. Yeah. I feel pretty good.
Have you done anything this year?
I'm doing strength stuff today. Yep. So I've got snatch and deadlift today, which would be interesting to see because I haven't snatched for longer than 6 months. Definitely longer than 6 months. Just with a shoulder injury and stuff. But that's kind of the point, is to just lean into this thing and really work on my rehab and my prehab stuff for all my weak areas, which are generally shoulders and midline and glutes and hamstrings generally. So as long as I can really knuckle into some good programming for that, then yeah, sky's the limit. I think I'll definitely tick these things off by the end of the year.
Sick, man. So good.
How's about you? You feeling fit?
Yeah, man. I'm feeling really good. Went for that run. Went for a run day one of freedom, so Thursday, 30th. That was just a cruisy 6K. That was actually heavy. Felt heavy, felt slow, all the things. I find that I start really slow. So no matter what run I'm doing, my first 1 to 2Ks are the slowest. So it's almost like I need to do a 1-2K warm up and then go, cool, now go for a run. I'm getting to the age where I need to warm up and cool down rather than just wake up and go, which is definitely eye-opening. But then,
what does that look like?
Sorry?
What does that look like for you for a running warm up?
I actually do this surprisingly, a 10-minute, this little 10-minute flow of yoga movements that I'd found in ISO. And there's one that's a bit longer. And I think for longer runs, I'll do a 20-minute run. A 20-minute warm up. For those upwards of 10. It's really quite hip, ankle, knee mobilization and blood flow is kind of what I'm chasing. But then I think just the impact on the ground is your body won't get used to unless you run. So it would be like a 500 meter to a K run as a warm up. Set, stop, reset, cool, and then get into it. I find it quite hard to just go at a comfortable pace from the get-go, like hit start on the watch and just bang sub 4 minute 30Ks. Like I can run them for pretty, like today was a 5K run at about 4 minutes 30, but my first K was 5 minute K, just because I just need to warm up into it.
Build, yeah.
So I find that's going to be interesting. And I find it's interesting you said to do shorter strides for your cadence. I find that that's a comfortable pace for me, but I can only run a certain speed when I do that. My fastest 5K that in memory is like a 21-minute 5K. And I felt like I was gliding. I think I was just overstriding. And it was just literally that image that you get of, not saying I'm elite, but the elite runners where it's just like a big reach out, the hamstring and glute pull through, straight leg, cyclical motion rather than that little trudging kind of step, doggy paddle. Sure. I found that to be a much quicker pace. And I actually felt in a groove when I was doing that for the 5-ish Ks. So I'm not sure if that's going to work for half marathon, but I'm curious, when I want to stride out, my fastest Cooper's test was 3Ks. So when I want to do that, it's not shorter strides quicker, it's longer strides quicker. Really reaching out and striking the ground kind of in front, or not in front, directly underneath you. So
yeah, that's true.
Definitely and this morning's was great. Just woke up go out, get it done. Felt like doing 4Ks, did 5, cruised home, went to the beach, had a really good time. And then I'm away down south from tomorrow. So for me, that'll just be we're away for 5 days, 4 nights. So we try and get 3 runs in there just to keep the body moving. Nothing, if it's short, my goal is when I'm sub 5-6Ks is to run overpaced. So 4 minutes 30 or less. And when it's if I'm running 5 to 10, try and run at about race pace, 4:45. And then if it's above that, just in this building phase, if it's above that, maybe some zone 2 training. So cool. I just need to go and get 12 to 18Ks in the legs. If I walk some of it, great. If I feel good and I can run quick, great. It's just more about just getting that into the legs, which is why I jumped on the bike, because cool. If I need to get my heart rate consistently at a consistent heart rate for 2 hours or an hour and 40 minutes, it's a lot easier on a bike, less impact on the legs. And I can go, cool, let's test the heart for a consistent, for that time period, to train it at working for that amount of time without putting the load through the body.
What heart rate do you usually sit at when you're running? Like a 5K or a 10K?
It's a good question. I would, well, 10K, I haven't done a 10K in a very long time. I can definitely find out my 5K from this morning. I think I was definitely increased towards the end because I was like, oh, can I actually, I'm a sucker for a stat. Like I'm a sucker for trying to get, I don't know why my Garmin is not letting me into it. If I could get, if I can run this next K in like 4 minutes 15, that means my total time will be at X kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I do enjoy that. Garmin's not letting me sign in. I think I'm around about zone 4. I was on Thursday, it was zone 3, just chilled in zone 3 for 5-minute Ks. And then on today was a bit higher in zone 4.
So zone 3 is probably like 140 to 160 or
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So zone 4, 160 to 175, 180.
No, definitely. I think my highest heart rate today was 158.
Okay.
And that
Mine sits high. I
Yeah,
just
right.
run hot, I think. Like I'll average 175 beats.
Yeah, right. That's quite hard, dude.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah. I'm burning fuel at a faster rate for sure with a higher heart rate, but I feel like I just can't get it lower. Like when I ran that 30, my average was, it would have been 160s for sure, mid 160s, which is still pretty hot. Like anything shorter than that, it's faster for sure. Like 175 beats. I'll touch 190 at some point in the run, whether it's like an uphill effort or whether it's like the last little bit where I'm pushing for the finish or whatever, or just like general fatigue as my heart starts beating faster and faster to try and push blood around my body.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be in the 180s for most of it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Mine I've got it up now. I actually got that wrong. My average was 160. My highest was, I peaked at 184.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And that like my heart rate there is literally just a gradual incline.
Yeah.
Like it's not, as obviously as you fatigue, it's going to go up, but like, how can my goal is like, no, I want to keep it. So I've got to, like, it's that whole zone 2 training style or math training, feel math tone, trying to ensure you can teach your body to maintain a pace and maintain a heart rate, basically. And ideally, the lower that gets, the harder you can work.
Yeah, that's true. I'd be interested to see, they just broke the 5K world record. You see that?
Yeah, right. What's that, like 5 minutes?
What was it? Oh man, I'll have to find it. It was around the 13-minute mark.
Yeah, okay.
Which is
12 minutes
pretty
35. There we go.
What was it?
12 minutes 35.
Oh my god, that's
crazy.
nuts,
eh? Yeah, that's pretty wild.
What's the pace calculation for that?
Oh, you're testing my quick maths there.
Pace 2.
I don't know. I think you're looking at 2 minutes 30, pretty much bang on at 12 and a half minutes. 2 minutes 30. That's wild,
dude.
I think I sprinted. I saw on one of my runs, I was like sprinting one of my last little bits of a decent distance, and it was like 3 minutes something, 3 minutes 40, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking rapid, and it's just like, no, I'm nowhere near it.
Yeah,
nowhere near it.
I went down a bit of I saw that this morning, and went down a bit of a rabbit hole of looking up all these athletes that were on there, and they're all like, they're built to run, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
they're like 6'4" or something, probably weigh like 70 kilos. They're tiny. They're all hamstrings and calves, and there's like no upper body, but they're elite at that thing. Like that's what people think that you can. I would love to know what your thoughts are, but basically at some point in my mind, at least, at some point you need to be genetically blessed to reach those pinnacles of like elite sport, elite running, or especially running for whatever reason, or anything that's track and field, basically. You need to be built like that. Like you're not going to find, like you and I aren't going to be able to compete with people like that.
I would say I'm not sure. Like to be the very, 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 very best, like the top of the top. I don't know if genetics is it, but like, yeah, there's something different about those people. But to be able to compete with them, I don't think you need the genetics.
Not even in the top like 0.01%.
No, there's an Aussie guy that was doing the 5K in the Olympics, who like, in terms of regional differences, because I think I'm going to butcher this, but some of the long distance, like there was a research article, I actually think it was in a book I recently gave away called The Sports Gene, which is a really good book. and it was like the which speaks on exactly this topic actually, and I haven't read it for probably 15 years, but basically I think it's the Kenyans who are all the long distance world record holders or something like that.
Kalenjins,
sorry?
In Kenya. The Kalenjin tribe in Kenya.
Yeah, so part of the reason for that, if I've got this right, and forgive me if I don't, is because they were basically say their region is like as big as Adelaide, but there's only one school. And so they would have had to all run 10Ks every day to school. There's no transport, so they run or walk to school. So it's not necessarily genetic. It's literally that they are running 20Ks a day from the moment they're at school or walking or whatever it is. So everyone would just travel over that distance, and then you just get more and more efficient over time and over time and over time. Also, it was something along those lines. So when it comes down to, yeah, sure, genetics, there's some of that it's trained or it's innate from the beginning. So I wouldn't say it's specifically a gene or you're born with it. I would say you hone it from a young age. As an example, like Tiger Woods started playing from 3 years old.
Yeah, that definitely makes
that's not genetic.
Makes a big difference.
It's not genetic. Yeah. It's just like, no, well, he's had his 10,000 hours by the time he was 6. Or something, those, which is why, so many parents try and get their kids into sport from a young age. It's like, you need to be at this, in this, and doing this at an elite level or whatever it is. And that's where the hard work and working in those hard times is going to breed excellence. I would argue it's not necessarily the gene, it's the situations that they put themselves in, and then the continuous training and momentum that they build over time. So that by the time say he's 18, I can't remember when Tiger Woods debuted, but if he started at 3 and say he debuted at 18, which I think it was before then in the PGA Tour, that's 15 years of training. I don't think I've done 15 years of training in anything apart from definitely talking, and I'm still trying to work on my communication skills. So you know what I mean? Like, it's
sure.
I wouldn't say it's genetic. I would say it's situational training for a lot of it.
I saw a really good YouTube video on this, actually. It was about the title is essentially, are athletes actually getting better? Because world records get broken constantly.
Yeah, I think I saw this.
Have you seen this one? It's a TED Talk, I think. And the dude talks about it, and he talks about a bunch of different sports, like the NBA, for example. If you're a 7-footer in America right now, there's like a 7 or a 14% chance you're in the NBA right now, currently, if you're 7 feet tall. So that's obviously like genetic. But then he goes into like swimming world records, and all of the big cliffs in decrease in times have come from technological advancements, not athletes actually getting better. So like the gutters on the outsides of the pools that let the water flow over so it doesn't create turbulence in the water, that was a big steep cliff in time coming down. There were wetsuits, there was the flip turn, there was like a few really pivotal moments where big steeps in
same in track events. Like, they went from whatever it was, red grass to grass to whatever they use now, to then the shoe mechanics, all that sort of stuff. And yes, it's an investment in the science to get better as an individual. And then even like you say, the high jump, it used to be the step over, and now it's the Frosby flop or whatever it's called. It's like, it's not necessarily that humans have gotten better, they've just innovated, whether it be into technology or into movement ability. So we've always had the ability to do the things as a human race, but the science hasn't been there to research to find out the most efficient way to do it. So yeah, I did hear that. I have heard that similar argument for sure.
He talks about the first marathon and how it took. Well, this is the first guy ever to run it, apparently, and so many people have died from it trying to run the marathon early days, and now people run them all the time, just like crazy. You're going to run a half, and I'll run one this year, and people just kind of do it for fun now. So I think there's a level of like understanding and training as well, which makes a big difference. Like the knowledge side of things, not necessarily like I'm not genetically gifted to run, but I think the training side of things, maybe, or the nutrition or something plays to the benefit of of everyday athletes now
Mm.
that most people couldn't before. And maybe it's like, we're not, like, I don't have to worry about really where my next meal comes from. Like, I'm not in survival mode all the time, like what people
Yeah.
were like over the world wars or the Great Depression or the recession or whatever. So I think it's more accessible for more people now as well.
I think it's exactly that. Like we're in a time period where people have the time to go and do these things because of, you know, all the advances in science and technology, whether it be around nutrition and, you know, being able to just go and buy food. Like you can, you know, when a lockdown or whatever happens, like people just flood the shops because, well, that's how, you know, that's where we get our food, which is, you know, in these packets and all this sort of stuff. But, you know, in previous days, it was like, well, I don't really have time to go and run a 42K, you know, run 42Ks because I need to go and hunt this wolf and it's going to take me at least 3 days. So I'll just walk it. I'm not recording my time because I need to feed my family. Like, like say, even in the world wars, it's like no one's really worried about their nutrition. They're worried about staying alive.
True.
So yeah, like, and that brings it back to the quality of life that we have, definitely here in Australia, but I think universally in at least first world countries where we've never been in such a situation where that's compromised in our lifetime. Apart from, you know, people might argue that COVID is that, but I would argue that, you know, we still have the ability to go to the shops. Like that's never been taken from us. So yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's why, you know, recreational health and fitness is at an all-time peak, I feel like. Hopefully it continues to ride the wave and continue to becoming more and more part of everyday life because there's, you know, massive amounts of benefits to movement.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's everything for me. And it's all I've been surrounded by since when I started playing footy at 5, it's all I've really cared about. And then once I made a career out of it. I started my course when I was 17, finished it when I was 18, I think. So at least for the last 9 years.
Yeah, speaking on that, actually, I haven't actually been in, you know, I left Adelaide just before all of the carnage that is being reported from over here's media that's happening over there. How is it going over there?
In terms of what?
The
Thousands of COVID
stuff.
cases.
Yeah, the thousands and thousands, and people are, yeah, how's it all doing? Anything changed? Probably not.
No, not on my front. I don't know. I try to not, like, I knew that opening the borders for Christmas and stuff was really going to be the start of the next wave. I'm not sure how much Omicron we've got or like what.
Well, not even like, you don't need to know, not necessarily like, are you aware of it, but like, has it impacted you at all? Is it stopping you or enforcing you to do anything? Or
I try to be safe because I have to go back to work.
Yeah.
And working and running and owning a gym is, it's really safe because we are going through lots of like cleaning protocol and we've got entering and exit strategies and all of that. But if I get it, or if I even have to isolate, then that's like, you know, that's 7 days of no work. So I've tried to be really safe in that respect. And and I think I've been lucky thus far because a lot of my mates have got it. A lot of people I know have got it. But otherwise, it hasn't really changed a lot, to be honest. Like, if anything, the first lockdown for me was like the start of this momentum thing, you know, for the last couple of years. I was like, okay, now I can't be at the mercy of something like this happening again. And I think I spoke on this in one of our first couple of episodes, but I can't be at the mercy of something like this. So I have to change what I'm doing. And this is way before I owned the gym or any of that stuff. And I was just working for someone else and trading my time for money. So I think I've set myself up now to not be affected by that kind of stuff. And if anything, it's actually benefited me because I have more time to do stuff like this and work on passion projects and start a podcast, and hopefully this YouTube will take off and train a lot and set myself these massive goals. Whereas people that work 40 hours a week plus, like, and have to look after kids and have all these responsibilities and stuff, I can see why it's very hard to get the motivation to do stuff like that. But I've done it since I was 17 or 18, and I've always been surrounded by movement. So for me, it's just like, I can't imagine, I say it every week, I think, at least, but I can't imagine not exercising. Like, for me, it's just the most staple thing in my life. Like, if anything else everything else can change in my life, but that is the one thing that will just maintain. Whether it's like going for a run or lifting weights or whatever, like I just can't imagine not having that. So weird to me.
Yeah, for sure. So nothing's really changed. Like you don't feel like there's a big mass hysteria around what's going on in Adelaide at the moment. I'm like purely from the perspective of I don't feel that there would be, but I'm sitting in a state that freaks out when there's one case, and I'm just, maybe there's people that are listening from this side of the border that might just be a little bit less concerned. Should you share that it's not really all they're saying it is, or I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen any change, to be honest.
Okay.
But maybe I'm because honestly I'm sick of it. Like, I'm so sick of hearing about it that I just switch off from it. And every time I hear the C word, I just switch off.
Roll your
so I'm
eyes,
probably not the best
way.
person to ask, but I estimated we would have 10,000 cases the week after Christmas. And I'm not sure how many we had, but we've had a couple of thousand the last few days.
Yeah.
And but there's been no change. Like there's still toilet paper on the shelves, which is the first thing to go initially.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's the same over there, but that's so weird to me. It's like this doesn't like cause you to have diarrhea.
Yeah.
You can't like you don't have uncontrollable bowel movements through COVID. Like that was the stupidest thing.
Yeah. I reckon maybe it's just all the people like they binge the alcohol, and the alcohol causes the upset stomach, and like this is the COVID.
Maybe they put
potentially. I don't really know.
They actually, I was looking at I was watching the TV. We were in the cafe the other day and was watching the TV, and the subtitles were on, and the premier was saying how there was a big decrease in testing on New Year's Day, and I think that was like such a like people are like, nah, I'm just hungover. It can't be COVID, rah. And then all the test numbers and cases went up the next day.
Oh, really?
Which was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, in terms of, to answer your question, I haven't noticed any difference, but I'm probably not the right person to ask because I'm just avoiding it as much as I can.
Potentially like that, but also if you don't look for it, you won't see it. So if you're actively looking for changes and you're actively looking for how it's going to impact you, you will see all the impacts. But if you're like, you know what, I'm just going to motor along with my life, and until it impacts, obviously you can always be prepared for sure, but like until it impacts me, it's not. I'm not going to let it affect my mental state until at such time that it affects my lifestyle, which I think maybe people over here could benefit from or whatever. But yeah, I know that a lot of people around my age and my friendship group are probably like, yeah, cool. Can we wrap this up now and get on with it? And I think, yeah, we'll see what happens in that. We're due to open. We'll see what Mr. McGowan, I won't reference him with one of my pet names for him. If he changes his tune come February 5th, but we're due to open February 5th. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Another month.
Yeah, well, hey, like I say, that's kind of one of the reasons I'll hang around here until just before that time point, because who knows, he might take his little power trip and continue reigning over this this state that we call Westralia. But we'll see. We shall see. So episode 1 out today on Luke Winrow on YouTube.
No, not today. No, filming it today.
Oh, filming it today. I thought you said it was out today.
Possibly. It depends. Well, I'm still on holidays until Wednesday, so
it'll be out before then, surely.
So I could, it'll be out by then for sure.
Yeah. All right. We'll maybe link your YouTube channel in the show description for all those listening to kind of check it out and stay tuned.
Sure. And
if you definitely want to follow either of us on Strava, hopefully you know who we are and we can keep us accountable to our training and running and fitness goals, and we'll throw them back your way. I think the biggest thing about this time of year is everyone has the best intentions. And I think one of the thoughts from last week's chat was around why would this year be any different? Everyone starts with the best intentions, but it's that consistency, as you mentioned before, that's going to get you there. And those arguments that you tell yourself, or the reasons as to why it's getting too hard or no time or whatever, is what stopped you last year and the year before. And as both you and I can probably attest to, it's the best time to start the thing was 20 years ago, and the next best time is right now. So as long as you are doing it in 20 years time, you're going to be a lot better off.
That's it. Just start.
That's it. Easy, brother. All right. Well, good luck with your recording today. I look forward to seeing your mug on YouTube in the next couple of days, hearing about these plans. And Yeah, we'll chat again next week.
Legend, man. See you then.
See you, dude.